The Black Death was once the world's most feared disease. It claimed hundreds of millions of lives in a seemingly unstoppable global pandemic, with its victims suffering painful swelling of the lymph nodes, blackening of the skin and other terrifying symptoms. In 17th century Europe, doctors treating plague victims wore an outfit that has since taken on sinister connotations. They covered themselves from head to toe and wore a pointed mask. The reason these pointed plague masks existed was a misconception about the very nature of this dangerous disease. During outbreaks of bubonic plague in that period, a pandemic that recurred in Europe for centuries, cities afflicted by the disease hired plague doctors who practiced something that passed for medicine as they treated rich and poor residents alike. These physicians prescribed what they considered protective concoctions and antidotes to the plague, recorded wills, and performed autopsies, some of them wearing beaked masks. The uniform is often attributed to Charles de Lorme, a physician who attended to the medical needs of many European royalty during the 17th century, including King Louis XIII and Gaston d'Orléans, son of Marie de Médicis. He described an outfit that included a coat covered in aromatic wax, breeches tucked into boots, a shirt tucked into trousers, and a hat and gloves made of goatskin. Plague doctors carried a stick with which they could touch or fend off victims. The hat was particularly unusual. Plague doctors wore glasses and a mask with a nose 15 centimeters long, shaped like a bird's beak, filled with perfume and with only 2 holes, one on each side of the nostrils, but which was sufficient to breathe and carry in the inhaled air the impression of the herbs placed at the tip of the beak. Although plague doctors throughout Europe wore these outfits, the look was so iconic that in Italy the plague doctor became a staple character of commedia dell'arte and carnival celebrations and remains a popular costume today. But this imposing ensemble was not a lethal statement of style. It was intended to protect the physician from miasma. In the days before the germ theory of disease, physicians believed that plague was spread by poisoned air, which could create an imbalance in a person's humors or bodily fluids. Sweet, pungent perfumes were thought to fumigate areas affected by the Black Death and protect the sniffer. Bouquets, incense, and other perfumes were common in the area. Plague doctors filled their masks with theriac, a pharmaceutical concoction of more than 55 herbs and other ingredients such as powdered viper meat, cinnamon, myrrh, and honey. De Lorme believed that the pointed shape of the mask would give the air enough time to absorb the protective herbs before reaching the nostrils and lungs of the plague doctors. Plague is caused by Yersinia pestis, a bacterium that can be transmitted from animals to humans through flea bites, contact with contaminated fluids or tissues, and inhalation of infectious droplets from coughs or sneezes of people with pneumonic plague. 3 horrific Black Death pandemics swept the globe before the cause was discovered. The Plague of Justinian, which killed 10,000 people a day around AD 561. The Black Death, which wiped out up to a third of Europeans between 1334 and 1372 and continued with intermittent outbreaks until 1879. And the Third Pandemic, which ravaged much of Asia between 1794 and 1959. Ultimately, the plague doctor's suits and methods didn't do much. Unfortunately, the therapeutic strategies of early modern plague doctors did little to prolong life, alleviate suffering, or achieve a cure. Plague doctors may have been recognizable to the naked eye, but until the advent of the germ theory of disease and modern antibiotics, their costumes provided no real protection against the disease.